Hi, I'm JT, and this is Component.Studio. Component.Studio is an app that basically allows you to design your game components faster. It's basically Photoshop plus a spreadsheet. You design one component, and Component.Studio will design the rest. So if you have a deck of cards or chits or tiles that all have a similar kind of layout, just need different kinds of data installed, then Component.Studio is for you. You can check it out at Component.Studio in your web browser. That said, this video is actually about Component.Studio 2, the next version that we're working on. And I need some feedback from the community. What I'm looking for, what I'm working on today, is the prevy functionality. So this is Component.Studio 1, and what I've done here is this red box up here has prevy in the Y field. What that means is whatever the previous value is, in this case we're going 25, 30, so 30 is after, 25 is before, so the previous value is going to be this blue box. So whatever I set this blue box to, it's going to use the bottom of that blue box as the top of the red box. Because again, I've set Y for Y on the red box, I've set previous Y, which is to say it will take whatever the previous value of Y at the bottom. It's kind of confusing in the old system. There's a better way. But anyway, this is how it works. So if I, for example, move this to 200, you can see both boxes move together because they're linked up via that parameter. Now, this has some weaknesses. One is, it's actually the bottom of the previous thing. It's not the Y value. So like technically the Y value is actually 200. But what we're actually getting out of this variable is the bottom of the previous box, not the top, not the Y. So technically that should be like previous bottom or something like that. The other thing is previous is only the previous thing. So what if you wanted the bottom of something you made 3 layers ago? Can't do that in Component.Studio 1. So I'm trying to figure out how to better do that in Component.Studio 2, and I wanted to show you what I've come up with and get your feedback on it. So the first thing is that I've created here a hex and a blue box, and so again, you could put in previous Y here, but that's a variable from Component.Studio 1. So the way to do that here is to use a function called getBottom. And so we can get the bottom of using an ID from any other layer in the system. And the reason this is important is because like I said before, the other one could only do whatever the previous layer was. But in Component.Studio 2, you have all kinds of groups and layers and that sort of thing. So for example, I have a group here with 2 layers in it. I have an empty group here. I have another group with 2 other layers in it. So what is the previous value? Is it the group, the previous group? Is it the previous layer? Is it a previous layer in a different group? So previous doesn't make any sense in the new version because we've got this hierarchical nature to our layers. So we need to get the ID. And so what I've done is I've made it so that the ID for everything pops up under the Advanced tab here. So if I go into this polygon here, that's this. They've got this ID here. Now, dealing with IDs, it's kind of ugly and clunky, and so I recognize that, but we need something unique, and the name of the thing isn't necessarily unique. So the ID is the best way to go to make sure that we're getting the right thing. But instead of having to get this ID and then paste it into that function over there, I've created these little shortcuts here. So if I want the bottom of this green polygon, a hex in this case, I click this arrow here, and you can see down here, it has copied the ID along with that function. So now, if I go back up to the box here, and I put into Y, I paste that, now it's set the top of this box to the bottom of that polygon, which is pretty cool. Obviously, you know, I could make this, you know, go over there closer to the polygon so that you can see that it's lined up, but you see what I'm getting at. And the cool thing is this works, of course, just like it does in the other version. So if I move the polygon, this is going to move the blue box. Now, there is one little caveat with that. So I'm going to move this up, and I'll go to 100, and you'll see that the polygon moved, but the box didn't. That's because the system doesn't automatically recalculate literally everything upon every change. It only calculates what it needs to. So currently, you would have to hit the recalculate button, and then that would go through and look at all the different changes and recalculate everything. Now, I may change that to automatically recalculate everything. It's a lot of extra work for slower computers, so I'm concerned for those who might have a slower computer that might cause a slowdown. So that's why I'm currently not recalculating everything. I would like to know, do you think it's okay that it doesn't automatically recalc, that you might have to hit this recalc button if you're using this sort of linkage like that? Is that okay? The other thing is, do you think that this mechanism that I've come up with here makes sense for being able to link one thing to another thing as far as getting those two positions hooked together? The other thing that's kind of cool about doing this mechanism the way it is that you can actually use this with groups too. So for example, I could get the bottom of this blue box, and let's just go ahead and grab the bottom of that one. And then I can create a whole new group like so, and I will go into group position and put the Y there. So now my group, the new group I've just created, is at the bottom of this. And so now if I add something to that group, let's put a circle in there, it's automatically positioned at the bottom of that. And that means too that if I, more than one thing can go into this group, and it'll all be positioned at the bottom of that blue box, because you can interleave layers and groups by using this system. And again, all of the groups have these functions on them as well. So you can use a group as the bottom of the next whatever you want. So anyway, what do you think? Does that make sense? Does that work for you? Do you think we need to auto recalculate? Is there some better way that I could be doing this that would make more sense to you, or that would work fine? Like I said, I'm trying to, obviously we're using the ID here. I don't want to make it scary, because obviously this big ugly thing is scary. So that's where these buttons are here, to make it a little less scary. Is it less scary? Does it work for you? So let me know. Thank you. And leave your comments in the comments. I look at every single one of them, and I try to reply to most of them as well. So I really want your feedback. Thanks.